Are you ready?
Yes, we are.
Are you ready?
Yes, we are.
Well, right on. Let's get started, shall we? Welcome, welcome, welcome again. It's Professor Victor Singing Eagle back again here at Sisseton, Wahpeton College with more awesome indigenous intellect in Native American literature class. I should just call it native literature or indigenous literature. Because, we got to mess around with the Canadians and the Hawaiians and the Alaskans and the Mexicans and even some South Americans too. Maybe, if we have time, I'll even throw some Taiwanese Aboriginal literature. Yes, Taiwan has 16 tribes. But we don't need to talk about that right now. I need to harass you about item 3, which I forgot to discuss previously. Bad teacher, bad! Well, indigenous aesthetics. Why is this important? Well, you sure? Back in graduate school at the University of South Dakota, a bunch of us writers all sat around, us Indians that is, and drinking our tea and coffee and munching on fry bread over there at Teospaye, the student center there. And we were trying to figure out, since native literature in the scope of things is relatively new or an untapped potential, or it was back in the year 2000, still we're trying to determine what is going to be our aesthetics. Aesthetics is this idea, how can we describe it? You know what, I'm going to be lazy. Let's look it up. Let's be lazy, because I don't feel like talking too much, and no, I don't want to use Bing. Bing sucks. Let's type in, what is aesthetics? It's a highly subjective term that sets criteria for what is good and what is not good in literature and art. Let's see what it says. Aesthetics. A set of principles concerned with the nature and appreciation of beauty, especially in art. Well, you could say literature too, because literature is an art. Is it not? I don't want to talk about that right now. Well, let's talk about this. Well, this is what we were discussing at the University of South Dakota, all of us Indians. And we're trying to figure out, well, what are we going to use? What is the criteria, you see, for what's good and what's not good? Again, keep in mind, this is subjective stuff. It's not like math where there's a right answer or a wrong answer. Or science, she's either pregnant or she's not pregnant. It's either alive or it's dead. No, aesthetics is more of a judgment call. How well you back your BS. What is it that you like? Some people like big butts and they cannot lie. Others want nice skinny girls. Never mind, we want to stay focused. I'm getting all sexist on you. Right. In the case of native literature, well, we have issues of authenticity, which I alluded to earlier, and I'll probably allude some more. This idea of who gets to be counted as a real Indian and what's real Indian literature. Who's it going to be a real live Indian versus who is a pretendian? Or how much about a mixed blood? How much Indian blood do you need before you can be considered an Indian writer? What about urban Indians, who I mentioned before, a lot of those guys lost their status. Are they still Indians? Can they still write good Indian work? That's one problem. Another problem we come across is who's going to set the criteria for what makes good Indian literature, and who's going to be the judges of what makes good Indian literature. There is something called Returning the Gift Project. I should pull it up for you guys. What the heck? We got a little time. I'll pull it up. RTG. Let's pull it up. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see if I can find it. What is oops, that says IOS. Returning the Gift Project. Returning the Gift can refer to different projects. Native American, that was in 1992. A whole bunch of us all got together. Let's type it in. Returning the Gift Project 1992. Delete that. Type in 1992. Enter. Boom. Wow, AI is going crazy. It was in Norman, Oklahoma. Let's see if we can find some pictures. Woohoo, there it is. Let's make it bigger. This is a whole bunch of Indians, and the picture is terrible. I've got a better picture somewheres where these are some Sherman Alexie's like right in the front somewheres. There's all these people I got to know. And if you look closely, if you get a better picture, you can see up in the upper right-hand corner, there's this really weird looking fella in black. We won't talk about him right now, but all these people all got to hobnob together back in 1992 and hang out and discuss this kind of stuff, Native American aesthetics. How are we going to judge our writing and who's a good writer and who's not? And rah, rah, rah. So that was a big point of debate even back in the 90s all the way to today. Another problem that we come across in indigenous aesthetics is how we get this idea, we start to worry, you see, that the first writers are the first people to stomp onto the stage. A lot of times we use them as the measuring stick for all the other writers who come after them. Sort of like, remember, no, you guys are too young. James Bond, 007. If you're a boomer, I'm not a boomer, I'm an Xer, so don't get me started. But boomers will argue to the day they die that Sean Connery was the best 007. He's probably one of the first. And that's what often happens, is the first actor or the first writer, the first something, all the others get judged based on the first, right? And that's not always a good thing, you see. So yeah, that's a problem for us in Native literature in our discussion of aesthetics. And finally, item 3D. Wait a minute, who's telling us? It's related to 3A. Who's actually telling the stories? Is this book by Indians or is it about Indians? And this was a question brought up by Harvey DeMarce. We were chatting about this a couple months ago or a couple semesters ago. Now, give you an example. One of the coolest books I ever read, I thought it was written by an Indian. It's called Coyote Blue by Christopher Moore. I'm still stuck in 007. Coyote Blue, California sunshine meets an American Indian myth in this whimsical fable of contemporary culture shock. Tautly written with a zest for the absurd and unpredictable. It's a humorous novel featuring a Native American who escapes from the res and moves to Santa Barbara, California, but his spirit protector, Coyote, comes looking for him. Ooh. Well, I thought this when I first read. Here go with the me, I stuff. I apologize. We were in, believe it or not, Kathmandu, Nepal, when we came across this book in a bookstore. 190 rupees is how much it cost. Don't know how it ended up in Kathmandu, but that's where it was. And so we picked it up in the bookstore and started reading. It's like, oh, this is a really good book. This is really good Indian stuff. Then get back home, do some research, find out the dude who wrote the book is a Chmokmanuk. He's a blue-eyed, blonde, sandy blonde. He's not an Indian. So again, let's get back to this idea of who's telling this story. Is this native literature or not? Well, there's a whole lot of native culture and a lot of stuff that's almost with an emic point of view. Uh-oh, there's a nice word, E-M-I-C, emic perspective, versus its opposite, etic, E-T-I-C. Very similar to what I was telling you before about this controversy with Sherry B. Ortner and Paula Gunn Allen. Sherry B. Ortner, who I believe is Jewish American, she has an etic perspective on Native American culture. And Paula Gunn Allen, being an Indian, she's on the inside looking in. She's got an emic perspective. That shows up on the quiz. That's why I'm torturing you with it. Well, the same thing comes up when we talk about aesthetics. Are we going to use, is it by Indians or about Indians, and what do we call Indian literature? What if I'm an Indian writer, but I don't write about Indian stuff? Let's say I start writing science books, textbooks. Is it Indian literature? So this is a big area of debate that we need to discuss. Now, we've already done item 4, so I'm jumping back there. We're going to jump all the way to this one. Now we're going to jump to item 5, Zitkala-Ša, who is a Yankton Dakota. Like I told you before, a lot of times when you get, well, let me just tell the story a little bit. Zitkala-Ša, who was down there on the res, she got her name changed to Gertrude Simmons Bonin. Who names their children Gertrude? Never mind, focus, bad teacher. Well, once she graduated from boarding school, she changed her name back. I think Zitkala-Ša means red bird. And what we know about her, she's a writer, translator. She was a musician and teacher. And she helped co-found the National Council of American Indians. These people were advocated and they lobbied the U.S. government on behalf of the rights of Native peoples. She writes a lot about struggles with cultural identity, because you got to remember, they ripped her from the res and stuck her and shaved her or cut her hair short and sprayed all these chemicals on her to supposedly delouse her, and took off her traditional clothes and made her wear these granny goose dresses and teach her how to behave more like a little white girl. Well, of course there's going to be struggles with cultural identity. And this term pops up, pedagogical resistance, because after she graduated, she became a teacher. And this idea of pedagogical resistance pops up, as does something by Gerald Visner, and I cannot remember what it. Oh, I remember the term. Manifest manners. Remember that, because it's going to show up on a quiz too. M-A-N-I-F-E-S-T. Manifest manners. Manners. M-A-N-N-E-R-S. Both of those are kind of interrelated. Manifest manners was referring to this idea when I was telling you about the first generation of native writers, where they were very polite in their writing and they used flowery language and highfalutin. They didn't want to offend their non-native readers. That doesn't come until we run into the guy who wrote God is red and custard died for your sins. You know who I'm talking about. I believe his name was, suddenly I'm drawing a blank. I hate when it happens. It happens when you get old. Vine Deloria Jr., there he is. That was a butt-kicking Indian, if ever there was one. Well, he didn't care about stepping on toes, but back in the early days, you had to care. Otherwise, you'd get blacklisted, you'd get thrown in jail, you'd get tortured, but never mind. Well, she did the highfalutin. She took the high road in that respect, where she used more pedagogical resistance and manifest manners. Manifest manners, by the way, if I were to define it, would be using, I would say, more ingratiating formal language to subvert the dominant paradigm, or as a way of cultural resistance, especially in writing. Whereas pedagogical resistance, this is more of a teacher's route. Teaching approach where educators actively challenge dominant ideologies and power structures within the classroom by encouraging critical thinking, questioning, that's thinking for yourself, questioning the status quo, also thinking for yourself, and empowering students to engage with social issues, often with the goal of promoting social justice and equality. So she's taking a two-pronged approach in her writing, you see. Manifest manners, where she doesn't offend her readers, and then on the teacher side, she's going to use pedagogical resistance. So that's all I wanted to torture you with. Now, before I let you go, you can, I might have mentioned this before, but it does bear repeating. That is, if you scroll down here, you can click on the Zitkala-Ša video. It's a cute little YouTube video embedded into our e-learning here. It's very short. It just tells her story a little bit better than I can. You can click on the extra credit discussion here, and you can read the ebook by clicking there, which I might have shown in a previous video. And somebody actually scanned and posted the entire book. Isn't that cool? By Zitkala-Ša. It tells the story of growing up on the res. And there she is, isn't she cute? And she looked like somebody I used to date. Never mind, bad boy, stop it. No, down at the University of South Dakota. Never mind. This is the full book. And she tells the story about, growing up on the res, and she's just a little girl, and she's running around, and her mom has sad eyes. And she says, Mom, how come you always have sad eyes? And Mom says, never mind, never mind. Let me see how fast you can run. And so she shows her mom, look at me, I'm running. And she's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. And suddenly there's some Washichu who show up on the res. And Mom is starting to tense up, and the little girl says, Mom, what's wrong? And she's, the little girl is starting to worry about her mom, and the Washichu's got all smileys and maybe gives her candy or something. Says, oh, you got to come with me. I'm going to take you to a really cool school, and you get to hang out with other little Indian kids, and you get to learn all this really cool stuff, and it'll be so fun. And hoodwinks the poor little girl into going to boarding school. That's kind of what the book is about, and you can read it for yourself. Remember, this is a big old giant. Some nerd like me scanned the whole book and stuck it online, and there's no paywall. Isn't that awesome? So click on it and read it. That's why I put on here, holy cats, you got to see this ebook, and I put the citation and all that good stuff. What else do I got to tell you? Right, so there's not a whole lot of homework. If you go back to our lesson plan here, you see that, this semester, I might save this video for future semesters as well, but this is 2025 fall semester, and this is a Labor Day weekend, so that means I'm wishing you a happy Labor Day weekend, and I've given you so much homework already, I'm not going to give you any more. That's what that's all about there. So, if you go back, and we're going to take a quick inventory of all the work that I've already dumped on you. You ready? Here we go. So, we already made you guys vote. Most people voted to have a traditional midterm and a traditional final, which is fine. It's easier for me too. Things that are required. It says here, what is literature? You guys did that. It says, please answer or please reply. What is the Popol Vuh? Watch the video, and I even opened it up so you can see it better. You can click on it and watch the video. I think there's 3 segments, or there's also the full version. which is all on YouTube. The quality is kind of like, because it was recorded off a videotape. This one is an extra credit one. Tell me your Chinese zodiac. Are you a wood tiger, water tiger? By the way, I again, I'm a snake. I'm a wood snake. My little sister is a fire snake, which means when we were growing up, she was burning me up all the time. 12 years younger than I. Never mind, we got to stay focused. Chinese, unlike us natives, my tribe, we have 4 elements: earth, air, fire, water. Boom! They've got 5. Let me see if I remember. Earth, metal, wood, fire, and water. There we go. Extra points if you can figure out which one is your element. Are you a fire snake, wood snake, water snake, metal, or sometimes they say gold snake? Then what's the other one? Is that all? That was an extra credit one. I'm just doing a quick inventory. This one, your aesthetics, that's a please reply one. So I've already, please reply Ortner versus Allen. Oh man, I have piled so much on you, and this is an extra credit where you discuss Zitkala-Ša. Boom. So we are pretty much up to date. By the way, the next segment I recorded last semester telling the story of the 4 tribes of creation. This is according to my tribe. Very similar to the Popol Vuh and similar to, I want to say, the Navajo, who tell a story that when the Creator created human beings, he did it more than once, you say. In our tribe, he tried 4 times, and the 4th time was the charm. Made us out of sticks, tried stone, tried slime, and then I'll tell you the rest in this video, which you got to watch. That's what I mean about timeless. I can try to save these videos, you see, and don't have to keep re-recording them all the time. So that being said, I'm going to cut you all loose and wish you guys an awesome rest of the week. Talk to you later, and have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
22 minutes.
Stop it.